Brian Hank, and this is a strategy video on the game Takenoko by the amazing Antoine Bauza. In this video, I will first cover some very high-level strategies, and then I'll move into more specific tactics you can use in certain situations of Takenoko. Takenoko is fairly luck-based, but there are some critical decisions that you should make and some guidelines you should follow to give yourself the best chance to win. So let's jump right into strategy, and the first one being the high-level plot rush strategy. Every single game of Takenoko that you play, you need to try to use this strategy, because if it works, you're going to end the game super quickly before your opponents hopefully have half of their objectives completed. So basically what you do is you draw a whole bunch of plot objectives, and then you use your actions on plots, and drawing more of those, and probably some irrigation as well. Anything you can do to complete the patterns in your plot objectives. You're trying to end the game as quickly as you possibly can, and while you do it, hopefully your opponents are going to help you complete them as well. So if you do use this strategy, then you're going to have your initial gardener objective and your initial panda objective, but then pretty much the rest of the objectives that you draw are going to be the plot objectives. You should always have one panda objective in your hand so that when you get the lightning rolls, you can use them for something. They aren't wasted. You can still complete those panda objectives, and you can knock those out pretty quickly. The key here is to decide after a few turns whether or not this strategy is working well for you. So are your opponents helping you to complete these plot objectives? Are you able to complete some on your own? Does it seem like it's going to work? And if it does, then keep going, and just keep going after these plots, and try to end the game as quickly as you possibly can. But if it doesn't seem to be working for you early on, then you need to switch, and you need to start going for more of the panda objectives and the gardener objectives, and play a more balanced game. Speaking of a more balanced game, the second high-level strategy I'll cover is kind of a bamboo pruning strategy, where you go after more of the panda objectives and the gardener objectives, and you grow bamboo with gardener actions, and then you prune it to the right size with the panda actions while completing the panda objectives. And in this one, you are getting more points per completed objective than someone who's going after more of the plot objectives. So you're going to have a higher average for your points per objective completed, which will allow you to possibly even win the game if you don't start the final round and you don't have as many objectives completed as some of your opponents. Ideally, when you're using this strategy, you have 2 panda objectives in your hand and 3 gardener objectives at all times. You have to get rid of your initial plot objective, but once you complete that, that's probably the only one of those that you should be going after, because you want to focus all your attention on growing and eating bamboo. So those are the 2 high-level strategies that I recommend you use when you play Takenoko. So now we'll move into the general tactics segment. And first off, I'll talk about the weather die. And so when you roll this one, you want suns. That is the best. It will do wonders for your turn efficiency. So if you get the question mark, pretty much always choose the sun. Once in a while, something like a wind will help you end the game if you need to do 2 actions at the same time. So pretty much outside of that exception, choose the sun for the question mark. For irrigation channels, always save them. Unless you can use them to actually complete one of your objectives so you can make room for more. So just save them, because oftentimes in Takenoko, one of your opponents is going to at least help you start that irrigation to whatever tile you're looking for. And you can either just finish it off, or just save those completely. If they completely irrigate what you're looking for, you can use them later on. This is another thing that really helps with your turn efficiency. I touched on this earlier, but it is very important. You should always have a panda objective card in your hand no matter which strategy you go after. Then when you roll the weather die and get a storm, then you can use it for something. You can use it towards that objective. You don't want to waste it, and that will also help your turn efficiency. The more you play Takenoko, the more you'll realize what the different options are for the plot, the gardener, and the panda objectives. And then you'll be able to figure out what your opponents are going for based on their actions. And you can use this information when you are faced with a decision that is pretty much equal. Like you have a few options that are really about the same to you about where to move the gardener or where to move the panda. And so in those cases, you'll want to obviously just try to move them in a way that you'll kind of hinder your opponents from completing whatever objective that they're going after. You shouldn't really go out of your way to do it, because you really need to keep up your turn efficiency and do the most you possibly can on your turn, and only try to hurt your opponents when you're deciding between two equal options or a few equal options. The last tactic that I'll talk about is about points, and they're visible. You can see how many points each of your opponents has at all times, so you know where you stand. And when it gets towards the end of the game, so when somebody is 2 or 3 objectives away from starting that final round, you need to plan out your final turns. So you need to either plan how you're going to end the game, so that hopefully you can do it before one of your opponents is really ready for you to do that. Or if somebody else is going to end the game, then you can just figure out how to maximize your points in the time that you have left. That is the end of this video. Thank you for spending some time with me talking about Takenoko strategies. And if you're really into these tabletop game strategies, I do tons of these videos, so please click the subscribe button below so that you can see future games that I do. And if you have a suggestion for a game you'd like me to do, just put it in the comments and I will add it to my list. So until next time, I will see you later.